But we wouldn't be here this morning if it weren't for others. It's others that made it all possible for us to be gathered here this morning. And they're still making that possible. I've had so many miracles in my life. I wouldn't have a ship sailing the 7 seas if it wasn't for Joe Manchin. I wouldn't have a hospital in Huntington, West Virginia with my name on it. And every time I go up that driveway to that hospital, I am just overwhelmed with gratitude for what has happened, what he has done for me, and what has happened in my life. This whole country boy from Quiet Dell, West Virginia, growing up on a dairy farm, never dreamed in the deepest concentration that anything like this would ever happen to me. And I never thought that maybe Bill McNutt would invite me to do what we're going to do here this morning. Bill's one of these guys that just can't quit. He won't quit. And he's involved in so many things, I can't keep track of it. But one of the things that I'm really proud of him doing is in Corsicana, Texas, he got a Gold Star Family Memorial Monument placed on the courthouse lawn, the first and only one on the courthouse lawn. And he had to fight a big problem to get that accomplished. So, Bill, thank you for that. It wouldn't have happened without you. Today we have every state has Gold Star Family Memorial Monuments in them. And in July, we're going to place one in Hawaii, in Guam. I helped take that island back, so I want to go back and see what it looks like now. But in West Virginia, I'm so proud of West Virginians. The communities of West Virginia have already placed 7 of these Gold Star Family Memorial Monuments. And I'm proud to say that Charleston, West Virginia, has the largest one in the country, as it should be. But many states have many of them. And there's 6 more in West Virginia in the process right now. So we're going to end up with 13 or 14 of them. But that big state of Texas, they're going to outdo us. You know, everything's big in Texas. So I know we're going to be outdone. Well, Senator Manchin, how proud I am to be a part of this morning, and so grateful to you for what you've done. And it is my extreme pleasure and thrill to be able to present this award to you. It is such a magnificent emblem of our country, of our nation, of our freedom, and all the privileges that we have. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you for being willing to accept this award.
Well, thank you, Woody. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'll let you put that back.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I've always said there's a couple of people you never want to follow in speaking, and that was one of them, Woody. I can't tell you how humbled I am and an honor this is. Not just for me, but for the state of West Virginia, for 2 of the recipients, both to be from West Virginia. I look around, I see so many, and General Crane in the National Guard is our military, and that's who we rally around. And I've always said this: if it wasn't for our National Guard, I don't believe the country would really know the effect that we have and the effect our Guard does, because it's the one that keeps us connected. The National Guard and the average person on the street, they connect to the Guard. We don't really see our military unless you go to a base. So how you all represent and the quality of the people that you have in the organization and what they give for us, they're there all the time. The greatest honor I ever had and the greatest title I ever had is Commander-in-Chief, being a governor of the state of West Virginia. And I took that so seriously, and I was so proud and privileged. To me, that was a greater honor than being governor. But you had to be governor to be commander-in-chief, so they went hand in hand. I look around and I want to thank so many people, but to the veteran service officers, what you all do, and I say you're the unsung heroes. People are needing your assistance every day. They depend on you. They have nowhere else to turn. And sometimes if you're not their mouthpiece, nothing gets done if we don't hear from you. And with that, I want to say to my staff, Tamara Boggs, who's our state director, but when I look at Kim Berry and who we have our Brian and we have Terry and we have our whole group here and Mike and we have so many, Charles and all of y'all, and Marcus and the group in the back there, I see all of my, they make it happen. And they understand the value of our service people. What Woody was saying and what Bill's been saying is that for a state that is small in stature and has on a percentage the greatest military veterans, basically per capita, we have a greater service per capita than most any state. So we've always been the first to call when it's been called, when the country's been in need. I look back at the greatest generation, World War II, my father and the Army. I had one uncle in the Marines, and I had A. James, which a lot of you all knew. Uncle Jimmy, we called him A. James. He was in the Navy. The story about and when I was growing up, my grandmother, his mother, my grandmother, would tell me that Uncle Jimmy was afraid the war was going to end and he couldn't serve. So he left high school early and she received his diploma. And because he wanted to make sure he was in the service and got into the fight before. He got all the way to San Francisco when the war was V-Day. And he always made sure that he was part of that generation. I look at those, and the greatest attribute from a generation of Woody has been basically, and what makes them the greatest, you never heard them brag. You never heard them talk about much. You always heard them take a full responsibility for their own actions. And I think that's the thing that we miss so much. People willing to say, I made a mistake, or I'm willing to serve, or basically do whatever they're responsible for doing. Woody and this generation did that. That's why they were the greatest generation. But when you think of George Marshall, the story that Bill told us, and him starting out with 1939, 180,000, that's all we had?
That's all he had, sir.
And build that up to 8 million by 1943. The United States was the arsenal for the whole world. We saved the world because of what we were able to manufacture. If it wasn't for our manufacturing capabilities, the energy that we had, the coal that came out of West Virginia, that forged the mines and the steel and built all the ships and the equipment that we needed to help save the world from fascism. I think, and I've always said this, my little state gave so much, and so few gave so much for so many. And I see the sacrifices the veterans given. A veteran gives a sacrifice, basically putting that uniform on you, saying, I'm going to take a bullet for you. I'm going to protect you. That, to me, how do you say thank you? You know, and to have an award saying, what I did is represent the people of West Virginia, my staff, and all of you all, the best that I could, and being on the Veterans Committee, being on appropriations, to where we basically assign what money goes where and the priorities we have as a country. That's extremely important for me, and I have that opportunity, and I'm going to do it and do it to the best of my ability. With that, we have challenges. We had a challenge, the horrible situation we had in Clarksburg, VA. We're not only going to correct that, we're going to prevent that from ever happening any place in the country. No veteran should ever be put in a situation such as that. And no veteran's family should ever have to go through that. We'll make sure that never happens again. We have a hearing, finally, holding people accountable. We can do better, and we'll intend to do better. Woody Williams has basically represented everything that I know and that I've ever seen in my life that's good about West Virginia. And he represents it in such a way, such a classy way, wherever he goes. And he's so proud of it. And here's a person that came from about 10 miles from where I grew up. So we're in the same part of the state. So I know it well. And the area that he came from was kind of the farming area. I came from where the mines were, the deep mines, but within 10, 12-mile radius. So the character of Woody being able, he'll tell you, you've heard the story. If you haven't heard the story, he tried to get into the military, at 17 or 18, and they told you were too small?
Too short.
Too short. And why did you want to go into the Marines?
Well, I didn't like that ugly Army uniform.
That's exactly correct. He wanted a pretty uniform. And he held out until he got one. Well, by the time he was, you went in, 41?
No, I didn't. I couldn't go until 43.
43.
Yeah.
Tried to get in right to start, couldn't get in. Then he got in about 19, 20 years of age. By then they said, we'll take you. And boy, are we glad they did. If it wasn't for that, who knows what would have happened.